Aloha, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to another week of Trauma Recovery University. I'm your host, Athena Moberg, and are you in the right place? If you are an adult survivor of childhood abuse, specifically childhood sexual abuse, this is live Q&A. We show up here every single week for you, the adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse, and we answer your questions. This is a live interactive Twitter chat with a video live stream feed as well. So if you are watching this anytime other than today, Monday, the 24th of October, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, then this is a replay. But you can go over to Twitter and search the hashtag #NoMoreShame, and you'll see tonight's conversation. And sometimes one of our community members, Jack, actually posts below in the comments a Storify feed so that you can easily click that and go through all of the conversation that happened with regards to tonight's topic. So every week we show up with a new topic, and our topics are suggested by you, the survivors. So tonight's topic is public shaming and how to cope with public shaming. So shame in and of itself, we have another video that we recorded only on the topic of shame and what shame does to us. And Harriet, if you could pop up the thumbnail somewhere around here, just so everyone can have easily access the shame broadcast, that would be awesome. Most of the videos on our YouTube channel are live Q&A. So if you are tuning in on a replay, down below the comments, or down below in the description section, all the way down at the bottom before you get to the comments, on a replay, there should be a little line that says, if you're watching a replay and you don't want to listen to everybody talk or, interact on the live Q&A, then you can simply click this button and fast forward directly to the screen share or teaching portion of tonight's broadcast. So that's just an added sort of convenience for you, because so many of you were saying that that's something that you wanted, so we wanted to make sure you had that. So if you don't want to interact with us because you're watching a replay and you want to skip ahead, then please go ahead. However, I just want to let you know ahead of time that sometimes your question that you had is actually asked by someone else in the very beginning of the broadcast, between now and then the screen share portion. So if you stick around and you see other people that are on our Twitter feed and they're asking the same question that you might have, that might be helpful for you just to answer your question on the topic of how to cope with public shaming as it pertains to our childhood sexual abuse. Or even, this is also, I want to really be clear on this. I know our one page doesn't delve super deeply into this particular subtopic within a topic, but this is also able to be applied to symptom shaming. We received emails and DMs and messenger messages and just all kinds of correspondence from you guys regarding symptom shaming as well. In other words, what is symptom shaming? So I better turn off my notification. Actually, I won't, because I need to make sure I know when you guys are like asking questions. So symptom shaming is, here it is 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years after your childhood sexual abuse occurred, and you are living with a debilitating mental illness as a result of permanent brain damage done to your frontal lobe because of an overabundance of adrenaline and cortisol that your brain was soaking in, and so it's affected your executive functioning, or you're living with PTSD or symptoms of complex trauma, or what is also will be known as complex PTSD, hopefully in the Diagnostic Statistic Manual version 6, which will be coming out in the next year or so. So in America, the mental health professionals use the DSM, or the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, version 5, to diagnose and treat anyone living with mental illness. So the DSM-6 will hopefully include complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which really isn't described very well if you're using the term complex PTSD, because complex PTSD is so different than classic PTSD. And there's just a range of different symptoms that go along with that. I think developmental trauma or complex trauma, it could be more of a subset of that. Anyway, that's a sidebar conversation. I don't want to get off track. Public shaming. Let's stick on the topic of public shaming. So normally, if you're regular around here and you tune in weekly, you will notice that I am missing my amazing partner in crime, Bobby Parrish. She is normally your incredible co-host, and she can be found at Bobby L. Parrish on Twitter. Oh, which, by the way, my little fancy banner isn't here anywhere. I wonder if it will work. I wonder if I have access to my fancy little banner. I don't think I have access to my fancy little banner, you guys. So you're just going to have to know who I am. So I'm Athena Moberg. I'm a certified professional coach, and I work with adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse, specifically who grew up in traumatic families of origin, possibly personality disordered families of origin that were extremely abusive or minimizing, and are living now with a whole bunch of different symptoms as a result of that. That's who I work with. And Bobby Parrish is a master's level therapist. She's a marriage and family therapist. She also has done child therapy, and now she is really focusing a lot on art therapy and those types of creative modalities, expressive therapies. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive right in. I have a couple of questions coming in on the Twitter feed right now. Let me think here. Let me see. Oh, before I forget, Bobby normally issues a trigger warning and gives you guys all the numbers that you can access help if you happen to be in crisis. So if you are in crisis, we prefer that you step away from the No More Shame hashtag and reach out to our friends over at RAIN, the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. They can be reached on a 24/7 live chat feature on their website at rainn.org. If you're in the UK and you're watching this, please reach out to the Samaritans. And you can reach, actually, there's one particular staff member that answers emails, and her name is Jo. You can email Jo at jo@samaritans.org. RAIN also has a telephone feature, and you can reach RAIN at 1-800-656-HOPE, HOPE. So please remember, this is going to be triggering. This is your official trigger warning if you are an adult survivor of any type of child abuse, or if you've survived any type of sexual trauma, or any type of re-traumatization regarding shame, if you've been public shamed, if you've been cyberbullied. All of these things could be very triggering for you. So this is your official trigger warning, and I ask that you please reach out to RAIN, because Bobby and myself are not crisis care. So, and neither are your friends on the hashtag. They're here to be supported as well. So thank you so much for being here, you guys. Thank you for letting us know that you're receiving the resources and that they are helpful to you. If there is a topic that you would like us to cover in a future episode, future week, on Mondays doing live Q&A, and then we have 3 weekly Twitter chats, and that's all usually on the same topic, please email us at nomоreshameproject@gmail.com, or send me a tweet at Athena Moberg, ATHENA MOBERG, or you can simply just search the hashtag No More Shame and my face should pop up. I'm the co-founder of the No More Shame Project, which I co-founded with my amazing partner, Bobby Parrish. Also, one of our very dear friends who founded the original sex abuse chat, Rachel Thompson, who's a best-selling award-winning author. And you can find her at Rachel in the OC. So if you are watching live, my friends who are all here right now live, which I believe there are actually quite a few of you, and that, well, I see that there are a lot of you on the video. I'm not sure how many of you are on Twitter. But if you are watching this live or even on a replay, could you just send just some virtual hugs to our friend Bobby? She's at Bobby L. Parrish, and she will not be here with us tonight. She has taken just a personal day to, excuse me, I'm going to have to be drinking some water this whole broadcast because I talk a lot. So Bobby is taking some time away tonight. There has been just some things going on within her personal and even professional realm, mostly personal. So if you could please just send Bobby just some safe hugs and some love, just letting her know that she has all of our full support and that we love her and that we miss her. That would be amazing. I'm sure she would love to hear from all of us. I'm hoping she's resting right now. But when she wakes up from resting at some point, I would love for her to receive an outpouring of our love and solidarity here in our survivor community, because she does so much for all of us. So it would be great just for us to send her some love. So if you have that on your heart to do that, I would be so blessed if you did that. And I know that Bobby would be too, because you guys are such a blessing to her. And she's so honored that you guys show up here every week to spend time with us. So I have some questions that are coming in on the Twitter stream right now. I want to give a special shout out to two people right now. One, our very dear Maggie at Uncorny Living. Maggie is our research intern here at Trauma Recovery University. She's been with us for a while now, and she is the person who takes time out of her busy schedule and her busy life and everything she has going on, and she goes into deep, deep, deep research of our weekly topics. She researches websites and videos and memes, and she researches everything that, on this topic, on all of our topics, and she reaches out to her Tumblr community and the Twitter community, and just, she does so much, you guys. So high fives to Maggie. And then Matt is actually moderating tonight and sending me some questions that are coming across on the Twitter feed, because I'm going to have a really hard time keeping up, which I love to hang out on Twitter and ask and answer all your guys' questions and just hang out with you. But I'm going to be staying here tonight and staying just fully present with you here on the video. So, and answering your questions this way. So, couple things. Let's see. Question about the fear of being publicly shamed and how it can keep us from confiding in anyone, whether they are deemed safe or not. Now, I want to address this really quick. We are going to go into some detail on our one page. Every week we have a one-page resource for you guys. If you're new and this is your first time with us, welcome, welcome, welcome. We have a huge community of awesome survivors that are here to greet you and say hello to you. Just head on over to Twitter using the hashtag #NoMoreShame, and everyone will say hi to you. Even if it's a replay, they'll probably find your tweet and say hi to you because they're so friendly and awesome. But if you are listening on a podcast like iTunes, Stitcher, or any podcast platform, Spreaker, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, we want to remind you this is a video broadcast, and we have our very own Roku TV channel, and you can find us on our Roku TV channel by searching any Roku device or Roku television. Just type in the word trauma and we should pop up. The title is Trauma Recovery University. That's the name of our channel. So you can find us there easily. And we also have a YouTube channel, and our YouTube channel is actually growing at an exponential rate right now. I believe we're up to, I want to say like 1,700 subscribers. I don't know, a lot, but you guys are amazing, and you all are in over 170 countries. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. If you are listening, or even if you're here live and you're participating, every single week we, with the help of Maggie and Bobby and myself and Harriet, all of us sort of collectively, you have all these people doing like all this stuff. It's amazing how everybody just does their part and it all just happens. We provide for you every single week a one-page downloadable resource that sort of bullet points our topic, and you can always find that on our website. We have two websites. Well, we have more than two websites, but these are the two websites that you can find those resources at. You can go to traumarecoveryuniversity.com, or you can go to nomoreshameproject.com and find the tab anywhere that says downloadables. If you find any tab that says downloadables, just click it. and just walk through. You'll be asked for your email address. In the future, you'll be going directly to a shopping cart where it'll be free, but you still have to enter in your login information. And then you'll be given immediate access to tonight's downloadable one-page resource, which is titled Public Shaming, How to Cope, or How to Cope with Public Shaming, one page. So now I'm going to address some questions. Let's see. Let's see here. So the original question that was asked said, we wanted to discuss the fear of being publicly shamed and how that can keep us from confiding in anyone, whether they are deemed safe or not. So a safe person, if you're new to this channel, a safe person, there's a great book titled Safe People, and it's by Townsend and Cloud. And it really goes into detail about what is a safe person and what is not a safe, like what is a person who is unsafe. So we have safe communities, virtual safe communities already in place, filled with other people who are safe. And a safe person is someone who will never shame you, who will not judge you, who will not minimize your abuse, someone who will support you and believe you and just hold a safe space for you to process whatever it is that you're processing, remember the memories that have been repressed, and learn new healthy life skills and boundaries so that you can live your life in a peaceful, productive way, enjoying healthy, deep, fulfilling relationships. That's a safe person, okay? So we have communities filled with these people. And we all do our best. We're all flawed humans, but we do our best. So the fear of being publicly shamed can keep us from confiding in anyone, whether they are deemed safe or not. And I want to validate this. This is absolutely true. That deep, deep, deep fear we have of being found out, that everyone's going to know that we were sexually violated, that can definitely keep us from reaching out and sharing or getting help or reporting to the authorities. And the system is broken. We all know that the system is broken. So a lot of times people go and they go to report what happened to them, whether it's like right away or even if it's years later. And they're asked all kinds of very demeaning questions like, well, what were you wearing? And so, well, how old were you? And if it's been that long, how come you haven't said anything yet? And these are all very judgmental and minimizing and devaluing questions. And so the fear is real, you guys. The struggle is real. The fear is real. These things do happen in our society. So yes, I would definitely say that the fear of being publicly shamed can keep us from confiding in anyone, even if they are a safe person. When we are publicly shamed, it can keep us from reaching out in the future, whether someone is likely safe or not. Yes, again, absolutely, I want to validate this. If we have ever been publicly shamed. So since tonight's topic is public shaming, I'm going to give you a couple of real life examples as to like what that even looks like and why we are on this topic. So I received a DM on Twitter from a public figure. And this particular public figure was publicly shamed by another public figure on television, in front of other people, and also on Twitter. And no one stood up for her. In fact, there was another person that was involved in the conversation, and she didn't stand up for her. And the public shaming that actually happened was that she was told that she deserved to be raped by her father. And I just want to just pause right now and say, no one deserves to be raped by their father, first of all. And no one deserves to be raped, period. But for someone to suggest that this person, this brave survivor, deserved to be sexually assaulted, and then there was another woman that actually was in on the conversation and heard the conversation, and she didn't stand up for this woman who was sexually abused and raped by her father and was being publicly shamed by this other public figure. And I just want to just point out how wrong that is on so many levels, because in our community, I know that many of us right now, that like, it's probably like all these tweets right now. In our community, we're very, very, very supportive of one another. Now, this particular person that reached out to me, she watches our videos, but she's not plugged into one of our safe groups. So she doesn't have that safe support system of like all these mama bears jumping up and even papa bears jumping up and saying, whoa, 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 wait a second. You do not dare do that to my girl. No, like, she does not deserve that. Who do you think you are? And like, rawr, there's like 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 of us all at once saying, no, 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 excuse me, you are wrong. And so she doesn't have that safe support system in place. And she might have other safe people in place, but she's not involved in one of our safe groups. So I don't really know anything about other than our safe groups. So that was one reason why this topic was brought up, because I asked her what, she said, I watch your videos. And I said, wow, I'm honored. Thank you. What other topics can we address that would be helpful for your recovery journey? And she said public shaming. And then interestingly, she was like the third person in the course of 2 days to mention to me the topic of public shaming. I have a client of mine who was literally publicly shamed by her family. In fact, she was sexually abused by her father. So both of these women are incest survivors, first of all. And here they are surviving. So hello, rock star status, high fives all around. Hello, you survived a lot and here you are. And you're advocating for others and you're reaching out and you're getting help, and it's 20, 30, 40 years later. Like, go you. You're amazing. You are amazing. And we're proud of you. But let's just talk about the public shaming for a second, because man, I know that I do not need to step on my soapbox and go off on a rant right now because I'm here by myself. But you guys, hello, this client of mine, little girl, so her abuse started when she was really, really young, like prepubescent age. That was when her abuse started. She was, I believe she was a teenager, and her whole family got together and went to a beach house. Father, who raped her, began calling her suggestive sexual names in public in front of all the other family members and talking about her breasts. I'm talking like a whole bunch of family members were there. Okay? Like, he called out and called her a name, a derogatory name, like one of her body parts, in front of the whole family. And since he was the patriarch of the family, no one said anything. No one said anything. The family just acted like nothing happened, swept it under the rug nice and neat, patted it down, and moved on. Well, guess what? Since no one stood up for her, my client is now 60 years old. That was over 40 years ago that happened. Over 40 years ago this happened, and she's still dealing with the aftermath of this public shaming that was so wrong, and someone should have stood up for her, and they didn't. And I just have to tell you that, you guys, if you witness someone being inappropriate or publicly shaming another human being, the humane thing to do is to stand up for that person. You don't have to be some superhero wearing a cape. You can just please have the courage to stand up for what is right and what is humane. You'll make a huge difference in the lives of other people. If someone would have stood up for my client, she wouldn't need to be reaching out and hiring me now, 40 something years later, as she's still dealing with this. She could have worked through her trauma. When someone stands up for us and they believe us and they hear our story and they're compassionate and they're kind and they stand up for what's right, we have a huge possibility of not being re-traumatized and re-victimized. We actually find our voice sooner in life. So if you know someone that has been sexually abused and is being publicly shamed, I urge you, I plead with you, I encourage you to stand up and do what's right and what is humane, and stand up for that person, for what is right, and tell the people that are publicly shaming this person, whether it is a man or a woman, that what they're doing is wrong. And you will change people's lives. You just will. So I do want to say thank you to everybody. Gosh, everybody sending in all these questions. Phoenix says, I talked about how my family called my abuse the incident. How should I have handled that? I froze. Okay, Phoenix. A family member calling your abuse when I happen to have a little bit of backstory. So Phoenix finally confided in her mother and father and told them that her abuse happened when she was such and such an age, the age that she was, and this is the person who abused her. And one of her family members was kind and comforted her and said, oh, well, I don't think any differently of you. And yay, that's awesome. The other family members said that they don't want to talk about the incident anymore. That was an incident that happened. Let's move past this. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but that is basically what went down. So let me just tell you right now, Phoenix, you shouldn't have handled it any differently. I sense some judging of yourself in the question, because you're saying, how should I have handled that? I froze. Sounds like you're shaming yourself a little bit for freezing. Having something minimized to that degree is traumatizing. And what happens is we go back to our reptilian brain. We go back to, and we lean on our automatic response, our trauma response, which, as you know, if you've read Pete Walker's book, Complex PTSD, From Surviving to Thriving, which is an excellent book, by the way, any single person on this channel needs to be reading that book. So the 4 flight responses, or the four, talk about a slip of the tongue. The 4 trauma responses are fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. So Phoenix froze. That's her trauma response. She freezes. And so you were traumatized and you froze, and you shouldn't have handled it any different. The bottom line is it should have been handled differently by your family. So someone else that saw the conversation go down should have stood up for you. They would have, should have, could have. The responsibility does not lie on you that you were supposed to or should have handled it any differently. You did all that you could. You survived the abuse. You lived with the repressed memories. You've lived with the damaging after effects. You gained the courage to confide in your family about what actually happened so that they could support you, and they failed. They failed. Your family has failed you. You have not failed. You shouldn't have handled it a different way. You handled it to the best of your ability. Now, if you're asking, how should I behave moving forward? I would greatly and highly and very seriously and sternly suggest that you establish and maintain very strict, healthy boundaries with any family members that are minimizing. What does that look like? That means you decide what behavior is okay and what behavior is not okay. And anyone who behaves in a way that is not okay and that is not conducive to your mental and emotional well-being, you simply let them know that you do not wish to spend time with them. And you walk away and you protect yourself and you take care of yourself. And you surround yourself with supportive people who believe you and don't minimize your abuse. So that's my answer. I'm hoping that I can get to all these questions. And Phoenix, will you please let me know, Matt, if you could check in with Phoenix, or if Phoenix could let me know if the answer to that question was helpful or if she has a follow-up question. That would be awesome. Destiny says, I'm bad at reaching out and never feeling like a trigger is bad enough to do so. They get pretty bad, but not deadly. Okay, so this is multi-layers. Destiny's saying, I'm really bad at reaching out. So first of all, you're shaming yourself. You're not bad. You're not bad at reaching out. You are struggling at the moment to learn how to reach out. I encourage you to reframe that message that you're telling yourself. You're not bad at reaching out. I strongly encourage you to reformat that message you're telling yourself, because the more often you say, I'm bad at reaching out, then you're going to feel bad. The more often you say that you're bad at reaching out, you're going to feel bad. I would reword that if I were your coach, and I would say, at the moment, I'm struggling to reach out. So far, I haven't really been able to reach out, but I will. So hopefully that helps. I'm never feeling like a trigger is bad enough to do so, bad enough to reach out. Okay, so if you're triggered, a trigger, Harriet, if you could pop up the video somewhere here, I don't remember which side they go on, the video titled Triggers. Triggers are a big deal, okay? Let's just be real. Anyone on this channel knows that triggers are a big deal. Anyone living with PTSD knows that triggers are a big deal. Triggers are just a big deal. They just are. When we get triggered, our mouth gets dry, our stomach gets queasy, our hands get clammy, our heartbeat starts to increase, our pulse increases in rate, and we don't think straight. We oftentimes lean on our trauma response. We freeze, we flee, we avoid, we numb, we stuff, all things that we really, hopefully, in time can choose not to do. Because as we face our stuff and we get through it, then we get triggered less often because we become more resilient. So yes, a trigger is bad enough to reach out. I would contact RAINN, the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network, and I would let them know that you're triggered. And get the help you need. Get the help you deserve. You didn't deserve to be abused, and you deserve to be helped. So I hope that helps. She says, my triggers get pretty bad, but not deadly. Okay, so we don't want your triggers to be deadly. Sometimes triggers are deadly. They cause people to self-harm. Someone gets triggered by something, and then they self-harm, or they begin having suicidal ideation. So, Harriet, could you pop up the videos on self-harm and suicide? Not suicide and attachment, but the one that is about suicide, and then self-harm as well. If you guys haven't watched these videos yet, please, please, please do. It answers a whole lot of questions. But please don't wait till your triggers are deadly before you reach out, you guys. Please, please, please know that you are worth it. You're worth getting better. You're worth receiving support. Oh, the live stream is cutting in and out. I'm really sorry, you guys. I don't know what to do. I have full bars. My Wi-Fi is looking good. It's super strong. And actually, I think I'm hardwired in. So it might be Google, you guys. It might be Google. Google does weird stuff. YouTube does weird stuff. So sorry about that. Joey says, thank you so much, Matt, for moderating. I really appreciate you tonight a lot. I appreciate you all the time, but tonight I really appreciate you. Joey says, what do you do if you are being publicly shamed and you start to have a panic attack and people around you start to call you crazy? Okay. This is so common, Joey. We do feel crazy. And we know that people think we're crazy. But think about this. If someone else was being publicly shamed and they started to have a panic attack, Joey, would you sit by and watch it happen and just think that they're crazy? Or would you do the compassionate thing and reach out and try to stand up for them or comfort them? I'm guessing that anyone on this channel would likely do the right thing, the humane thing. Because there are people out there that don't have a conscience. There are people out there that are either diagnosed or undiagnosed, sociopathic or psychopathic, or antisocial personality disordered. Some of them are Machiavellian. Some of them are very what's called the dark triad or the dark tetrad. Google those terms. Dark triad, dark tetrad, Machiavellian. Antisocial personality disorder, which is also, if you Googled ASPD, or they could be malignantly narcissistic. You could Google N like Nancy PD, and you could educate yourself on that. I would distance yourself from these people, Joey, to answer your question. I would take some deep breaths, and I would distance yourself and establish some very healthy boundaries with these people who are publicly shaming you and not coming to your aid, which is what the humane thing is to do. And, you know, I want to pause real quick. As survivors, we tend to see that there are a lack of humans out there that do the right thing. And we can begin starting to feel sometimes like there aren't very many good people left in the world, and that no one's sticking up for everybody else. And there really aren't that many good people out there, and no one's going to stand up for me. It's easy for us to fall into those traps. And I want to encourage you that I've personally either messaged with, emailed with, or taken you on as a private client, or communicated with, I would say, a great number, every single person that's here tonight, probably, for sure. But those of you on the replay, many of you I've actually connected with. I've received your personal testimonies. And I happen to know that you're really wonderful. There are hundreds and even thousands of people that are in our safe groups and within our social media community that are wonderful humans. So we have not always been surrounded by the greatest people, but I'm telling you that these people do exist. So I want to encourage you to find those people that have the same set of moral standards and that are made up of a similar moral fiber as you are, and start surrounding yourself with those people, because this type of stuff will happen less often. And you won't have to be around people that think you're crazy, because there are way too many people on this earth that love me just as I am and think I'm awesome just as I am, even though I live with PTSD, I live with debilitating anxiety. I have a lot of different issues that I live with on a very, very, very daily and regular basis that are all a direct result from my severe childhood abuse and exploitation. And I didn't even know I had all this stuff, okay? Abuse happens in relationship. And so in order for us to remember our abuse, sometimes we have to be in a deep, intimate relationship, which is what happened when I got married to my husband and I had all these memories start flooding back. And healing from your abuse happens in relationship, which is why we have all of our safe communities built for you. So please begin to look for and seek out those individuals that are healthy and that are kind and that want to stand up and advocate for other people, because there are plenty of us out there, I promise you. So hopefully that helps you, Joey. Thanks to everybody sending in their questions. And anyone that sees you having a panic attack and they just start calling you crazy, those are not humane individuals. Please find new friends. Please consider very carefully the friends you choose. And I'm not trying to sound cliche, but you are the equivalent of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. There's some truth in that. You show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You show me the quality of your friends, I will show you the quality of your life. Think about that. That's a big old truth bomb right there. No one's going to like me for saying that. I'm going to get some hate mail. It's all good. I am here to tell the truth. In love, of course. Simi says, my mother-in-law told me I should be over it by now. How do I stop myself from wondering if she's right? Well, I'll tell you she's wrong. And I want to refer you all to a really great book, which I've mentioned before. Dan Allender, I just can nerd out and fangirl out on Dan Allender because he's amazing. For 25 years, this man has been helping sexual abuse survivors. So he has a book that is a revised edition, and it is called Healing the Wounded Heart. And there is a workbook that is corresponding workbook. They don't come together unless you can find yourself a bundle, which I did not. I had to buy them separately. But I will tell you right now, all throughout that book, Dan Allender mentions, what a disservice is being done to this community that we live in, this world that we live in, when people are saying that we should just be over it by now. The after effects and the compound effects of trauma, specifically childhood trauma, even more specifically childhood sexual trauma, girl, you do not get over that. We move through it and we become resilient, but we don't just get over it. So I want to encourage you, Simi, look in my eyes. You know I love you. Love you. Simi in the house. I love you. You need to choose to not believe her. Again, Simi, you need to choose to not believe your mother-in-law. Because guess what? She's wrong. Unless she was raped as a child, sexually abused as a child, and has been living with all of those after effects all these years, and she's walked a mile or 100 in your shoes, she doesn't get to tell you what you get to be over. She doesn't get to tell you how you should feel and what you should be doing. She didn't earn the right. There's some tough love. I'm going to get a lot of hate mail. I'm on fire tonight. Oh my goodness. Simi, she did not earn the right to tell you those things. You need to set, establish, and maintain some excellent, firm boundaries with that woman. And I love your husband. He needs to stand up for you. My encouragement. Your husband will stand up for you. He loves you dearly. And hopefully, he can stand up for you and tell his mother to leave you alone. Because that's what you deserve. And that's my personal and professional opinion. No judgment. Just my recommendation. Dawn says, when my father questioned my doctor about my symptoms, my father blamed me in front of the entire medical staff. Okay, I do not know when your father questioned your doctor about your symptoms and then subsequently blamed you in front of the entire medical staff. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Dawn, your father was the one who is your sexual abuser. And I want to tell you right off the bat that it is very, very common for abusers to deny. They like to deny the truth and make up a fabricated version of their reality so everyone will believe it. That's common abusive behavior. Okay, it's called gaslighting. And then when they look to gain allies in blaming the victim, that is called a smear campaign and triangulation. Google that shit. Smear campaign, triangulation. Google that. That is what your father was doing. He was looking to launch a smear campaign, deflect, devalue, minimize, and blame you because he's ashamed of his behavior, so he wants to blame you, the victim. It is very common. It's super textbook. Shame on him, because you deserve much, much better. That's what I have to say to your father, Dawn. You deserve much better. And I want to just let you all know how proud I am of Miss Dawn, because this woman has gone on to change lives. She has spoken up. She is working through her past. She is healing from her abuse, and she's changing lives. And she's a respiratory therapist, and she's giving presentations, and I'm just so proud of you, Dawn. I'm so proud of you. You've lived through so much horrific abuse, and here you are, surviving and thriving and going on to help other people, advocating for others. I am so proud of you, Dawn. So, yeah, I'm sorry that your father did that. You did not deserve that treatment, Dawn. You deserve so much better. But it's typical. I don't want to say I'm surprised, because it's typical abusive behavior. And to be quite honest, it's typical addict behavior. So I don't know if he lives with pedophilia, which could be considered an addiction in some certain circles. But that's typical addict behavior, which is deflect. Don't ever own your own stuff. Don't ever take responsibility for your junk. Always point the finger at somebody else. But guess what, you all? We know this. When someone's pointing one finger out, there's 3 fingers pointing back at them. But they don't really look at those 3 fingers, though. They like to just blame everybody else. Liz says, After I told my husband about my abuse, he went and told some of my friends. So upsetting. Hell yeah, that's upsetting. I would be so upset. Whose side is he on anyway? What does your husband have to gain by telling a whole bunch of your friends that you were sexually abused? I am heartbroken and angered on your behalf that your husband would do such a thing. You do not deserve that treatment whatsoever, and I am so sorry, Liz. I would establish some very healthy boundaries with that husband of yours and have some serious conversation with him about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable in your life. That's what I would do. If that were my husband, that's what I would do. I don't think my husband would ever do that. My husband is, we have like a code of, you know, confidentiality if we're discussing things with one another that we do not want shared with others. You know, we say, you know, this is obviously confidential. So I hope that helps. Can you all please let me know if my answers are helping you? I'll do my best to help you, but I'm hoping that my answers are helpful for you. Let's see. Tony says, can you all let me know if the stream is cutting out still, if Google is still having issues? I'm hoping that you all can see me. Oh, wow, there's like twice as many of you here than there was before. Okay, well, we're going to keep on going. I'm assuming it's working. It is so upsetting, by the way, Liz, that your husband would do that. I'm upset on your behalf. Tony says, my dad used to humiliate me a lot. He and my mom once locked me out of the house half naked. I was 6 years old. Oh, gosh, Tony. Okay, wow. That was very triggering for me because that has literally happened to me before. And I would like for you, Tony, to Google the term dark tetrad power couple. There's an article that will pop up on a website called, it's something like Flying Monkeys Oh My, or something, or Flying Monkeys, something Flying Monkeys Oh My is the name of the website. And if someone could please Google that and then put the link in the tweet, I would like for this to be in the Storify if possible, you guys. Google dark tetrad power couple. Tony, that is severely traumatizing. And I would encourage you, if you are not seeking help with a therapist, I would encourage you to reach out and get help with a trauma-informed professional so you can work through that, because chances are, not only is that horrifically abusive and traumatizing, but chances are you've been living with, you could be living with certain things like body dysmorphia. It is likely that you could have had some sort of an eating disorder. It is likely that you are living with perhaps toxic shame. I'm only guessing. I'm obviously a coach and I can't diagnose people. So that's just not what I do. But I'm just wanting to support you and let you know that is so traumatizing. And there are so many after effects from a trauma that deep from your two parents, because you could be living with some fear of abandonment issues, fear of intimacy issues, broken relationships, divorces. Oh my goodness. Because we take all that shame on ourselves and then we beat ourselves up with it from the age 6 until however old you are now. So, oh my goodness gracious, Tony, I am so sorry. You are dearly loved and precious and amazing here with us tonight, and I just want you to get the help that you deserve. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. August says, I am scared to tell my family. Girl, I am scared to tell my family too. I was scared. I'm still scared because I told my family and then they pretended I didn't tell them. And then I told them again. And then at Thanksgiving, they started talking about my uncle that molested me right in front of me, in front of everybody. And when I called them out on it, they said, what are you even talking about? You didn't talk to us. I'm like, this is the 3rd time I mentioned it to you. No, we don't remember you. So then they were gaslighting me. Google that, gaslighting. Harriet, pop up the video on gaslighting. Oh my goodness. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons to be afraid to tell your family. In August, you don't have to tell your family. in order for healing to happen, you might not have to tell your family. You can simply get plugged in with a group of safe people and share your truth with others who believe you. And that can sometimes be enough for us to heal. Just sharing openly our truth and having one other human believe us and show us compassion. You know, there are some different therapeutic writing exercises and safe place visualization exercises and DBT and CBT skills and a lot of stuff in that awesome PTSD workbook that I told you all about. And the DBT workbook as well. But August, your fears are valid, August. Your fears are valid. So I just want to validate you. Dominique says, my sister imitated my abuse in public. People thought I was an adult, but my abuser made jokes in public about me being turned on by it. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, first of all, Dominique, shame on your sister for behaving this way. And I know a little bit about what you've gone through, Dominique, and it was horrific on like 12 levels of horrific. And it doesn't surprise me that your abuser made jokes in public. And for anyone to suggest that a child was turned on by sexual abuse, it causes me to question their sanity and question the validity of anything they say at all, because that is likely to be a very twisted, sadistic human being. One of my mom's husbands would suggest the same thing to me, that I was, he would yell at me through the bathroom door if I, like, horrible things happened to me in the bathroom, you all. I know you guys know this if you've been around it for any long period of time, you know a lot about my story. It's really just disgusting, like all of yours are. But one of my mom's husbands, if I didn't like go in, brush my teeth, and get out super fast, then he would scream at me through the door and say horrible, disgusting things to me. A little child, like 7, 8 years old. What are you doing? Playing with yourself? And I'm like, in my child's mind at 7 or 8 years old, I'm thinking, I don't even have any bath toys or anything. Like, I'm just brushing my teeth. Like, what would I be playing with? Like, and what does that even mean? Like, I mean, the innocence of a child's mind being attacked by the perversion of an adult's disgusting habits and hang-ups and just disgustingness. Just the thought of that is so twisted, right? I mean, my adult's mind can look back and reason, wow, he was so effed up. My mom sure knew how to pick him, right? Like, anyway, you guys, no. Dominique, my heart breaks for everything that you've been through, and you do not deserve to be treated this way. Oh, the live stream is going okay now. I'm so glad. Thank you so much. Destiny says, really, wow, I am minimized more than I knew. Can you please explain or describe what fawning is? I can. You know, I need to do a separate video on the 4 trauma responses, because for me to skim over what that is would do you a disservice. But if you were to look up Pete Walker complex PTSD from surviving to thriving, or even just Google the 4 trauma responses in parentheses, it will come up. And if you go over to Google Images, it will show you like a breakdown of what the 4 trauma responses are. In short, super like Reader's Digest abbreviated version, like minus 1,000. Fawning is to, if fight, flight, fawn, and freeze are the 4 trauma responses, and flight means you leave, and fight means you fight, and then freeze means you freeze. Fawn means that you engage and you try to reason your way through it, and you try to make everything better and just pat it all down and just smooth it all over and just keep everybody happy and try to explain your way or connect and just talk your way out of whatever it is that's going on. That's to fawn. Or just, and you are like, if something traumatic is happening, you think that you can, if you engage, it will stop. somehow something will change and you'll be fine, to reason your way or to talk your way or to, as long as you engage, it's going to get better. That's like what your brain automatically thinks. Or another way that Fawn is described as a trauma response is many people in domestic violence situations, myself included, they freeze when the abuse is happening, and then if they do nice things for their abuser, then it placates them, and then the abuse isn't as bad. So I hope that helps, but you need to Google that and like look that up, because if your trauma response is Fawn, oh goodness, there's a lot of bad that can go on if you're well, there's a lot of bad that can go on in all of this. That's why everybody's on this channel. But if you tend to Fawn, chances are you put up with a lot and you just think you can make it all better, but in all actuality, it's just an illusion. It's not really better. It ends up getting worse, and then it ends up getting worse, and then it ends up getting worse. So please look that up. And I'm not doing it I'm doing you all a disservice by paraphrasing, because Pete Walker really nails it and gives you real life examples. So if someone could maybe Google that in the quotes and then like find an image and then tweet that image out so it can be in the Storify, you all would be just so amazing. Let's see here. Yes, Destiny. We are all minimized way more than we knew. We didn't even know what minimization was. It was just like life, right? August says, I confided in a person I thought was safe and I was not given compassion. Now I just need to move on. Okay, first of all, August, I am so sorry that is how you were treated. Sometimes our judgment in people is skewed because of the level of abuse we've endured. And so we're desensitized to interpersonal violence, and our flag is broken. Our little sensor is broken, and we sense that someone is safe, but we think they're safe because they're not like beating us up or they're not overtly abusing us. They could still be someone that is covertly abusing us or just not compassionate and not empathetic. So I'm so sorry that happened to you, August, but there are good people out there. So if you are choosing to just move on, then you can just choose to move on. That's your choice. But I encourage you to continue to try to plug into safe community where there really are people that are safe, that will show you the compassion that you deserve, August, because you deserve compassion and kindness and love. All of us do. Just a word of encouragement. Oh, that's to me. Thank you for encouraging me. AKA Minute Maid. I love that you're here tonight with your mom and dad. AKA Minute Maid says, being when people deny anything negative about me or something, I'm like, what? But I think they're right. I'm not sure I understand, AKA Minute Maid. When people deny anything negative about me, I'm like, what? But then I think they're right. I would love for you to clarify, AKA Minute Maid, because I love that you're here. I'm so excited you're here, but I need you to clarify what that means. I usually can really speak fluently in the exact words that you are sending, but then I'm not on the Twitter feed. I'm like actually getting like a breakdown of the Twitter feed, so I might have missed the tone of your tweet or something, so I apologize, but try to clarify for me, okay? Destiny says, I was publicly shamed by the police when reporting my abuse for being disabled. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That is heartbreaking. I want to say I'm surprised, but I'm not. I love our law enforcement officers. They're amazing. They do a great job. But some of them, just like some of the rest of the public, some of them need to learn compassion and couth and tact and empathy, and they need to treat people with respect. So, Destiny, I'm so sorry that the police shamed you, first of all. And the fact that they shamed you for being disabled is inexcusable. All of this is inexcusable, Destiny. You should never have been publicly shamed by the police when you reported your abuse. And the fact that they publicly shamed you for being disabled is it's just inexcusable, period. That kind of stuff, it's just inexcusable. There's no excuse for that. I'm sorry. Joey says, my mom told me that I had to go to my brother's wedding and with all my abusers. And now my family hates me because I ruined his wedding. Okay. I don't know Joey personally. I've only just met Joey. But unless you're under 18, your mommy doesn't get to tell you what to do anymore. Because anyone who's over 18 gets to make their own decisions and their own choices. And so no one's allowed to tell you what to do and that you have to go. I used to live my life this way. I used to let people tell me what I had to do or what I wasn't allowed to do. And that's called giving your power away to other people. And it's a learned trait. It's a learned behavior that we learned during our abuse. We were powerless during our abuse because we were children and we were helpless. And so it's called learned helplessness. Harriet, if you could please somewhere pop up the video on learned helplessness. This is a big one. Joey, on the replay at 1 hour, right around the 1 hour mark, I need you to fast forward the replay and find the thumbnail or go over to the YouTube channel and look up learned helplessness. I want that. I know you've been binge watching our videos. I want you to watch that's the next video I want you to watch. Because no one's allowed to tell you what to do anymore. I'm sorry. They're just not allowed. Period. Unless you're under 18 and I don't know it, but I have a feeling that you're not. So, but I let my family rule my life and tell me what to do until I was 40. So, but I'm not asking y'all to do anything that I won't do myself. Okay. I'm a grown ass woman now. I'm going to be 43 in a week and no one tells me what to do anymore. I make choices, but it took me 40 years to figure that out. So there's nothing but grace coming from me. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying no one can tell you what to do anymore. Okay, Joey? No one. You are grown and you get to make your own choices now. Oh, thank you to Maggie for putting the link in the Twitter stream. So grateful for you. Thank you. Oh, and thanks to Matt for putting Pete Walker's link in the Twitter stream. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead now. Ooh, goodness, it's already 10 after. I'm going to go ahead and do the screen share portion, the teaching portion of tonight's broadcast. Thank you for all of your amazing questions. You guys are amazing. That is why I show up and do this every week, because I love answering your questions and supporting you. If my answers were helpful or if they were not, could you please tweet me, let me know, let me know, send up follow-up questions. And then when the replay comes out tomorrow, could you do me a favor and come back and give the video a thumbs up or share it or leave a comment below after the replay comes out? Because this one that we're on right now gets taken down and Harriet, the awesome Harriet HD, she does the transcribing and the annotations and the thumbnails and all the cool stuff, post-production stuff. And she adds the intro and the outro and all of that. And then she puts it back up on YouTube in like 24 hours from now. And then if you could give this video a thumbs up or leave a comment below or share it with someone, then YouTube will show favor upon us and put our videos up further in the search. And then more survivors will find us and get support. So if you could do that, that would be amazing. I would be so excited. And if you could subscribe to our channel if you already haven't, that would be amazing. I would be very, very grateful if our videos are helpful. Don't subscribe if they're not helpful, but oh, okay. AKA Minute Maid. She was actually tweeting back and forth with someone else. It wasn't a question for me. I know. I was like, I'm not really sure how to answer that. Okay, so here goes, guys. I'm gonna pull up the screen share for you. Okay, and if you'd like to follow along, let me turn notifications off. Thank you to Matt and thank you to Maggie, and thanks to Jack for doing the Storify. Preemptively, I'm thanking you. I'm going to do the screen share and we're going to go right through this. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. How to cope with public shaming. Shame is one of an abuser's most powerful tools. They use it to keep us silent about and submissive to their behavior. Shame tells us, the survivor, that there is something wrong with us, that we deserve to be humiliated and denigrated, both physically and emotionally. As a result, we tend to isolate because we are afraid others will see how damaged we are, or they may even fail to understand how our abuse has affected us. Being shamed in public adds an extra layer of humiliation and distress to our life. It is for exactly this reason our abusers will choose to shame us in public. They may scold us about a particular behavior at a family event or make fun of our appearance in a public setting, such as a restaurant. In both of these scenarios, our abuser is not only telling us we are worthless, but other people, in fact, see our flaws and agree with our abuser, therefore confirming that we are indeed worthless. Society and specific individuals can also use shame to silence us. Many people feel uncomfortable with the public discussion of childhood sexual abuse. Our family in particular may not want us to speak up about what happened to us because it could be messy to have to address all of their secrecy and abuse. Now, of course, you guys, this is only referring to abuse that happened within the family unit. To keep us silent and submissive to their demands, they may use shame. Now, I'm going to pause real quick before we move on to darkness to light. I want to again mention and specify and really drive home the fact that public shaming is also very, very, very a very effective tactic when it comes to symptom shaming. Like some of the questions that came in tonight, like one from Joey saying that they all think I'm crazy, or other people that exuded certain character traits, or they exuded certain characteristics, or they incurred specific abuse publicly. And then, because if we have symptoms of mental illness, like if we have PTSD, or our executive functioning is really, like if we're really having a hard time with multitasking, or if we're dissociating, or if we are living with obsessive compulsive disorder, or if we have debilitating anxiety, if we have generalized anxiety disorder, if we live with agoraphobia, where we have a fear of leaving our home. There are so many different symptoms that can be publicly shamed and cause debilitating after effects. And one of the symptoms of our abuse that could be publicly shamed are eating disorders. Now, people don't normally put two and two together, but like addictions and eating disorders are very, very, very closely related to childhood sexual abuse. So if you live with anorexia nervosa, binge eating disorder, bulimia, That is a symptom of your childhood sexual abuse. It can be. I'm not saying it is, I'm saying it can be. And you can be publicly shamed in that way. So keep that in mind, and please seek professional help for anything that you are being publicly shamed for, or any symptoms that you're having as a result of your childhood sexual abuse. So we're going to be moving on now to the pink lettering. According to the organization Darkness to Light, shame can have many harmful effects on our behaviors and thought patterns. Shame causes us to feel like there is something wrong with me, and everything we do is colored by a shame filter. Our circumstances and what we hear can be interpreted as shameful, even if they are not intended to be. Like if someone is saying something to you, and they're asking a question or just saying something to you, and they don't intend it to be shameful, since we have such a deep belief that something is very flawed about us, something is very wrong with us because of our shame from childhood sexual abuse, we can interpret that every person that says anything to us could be out to shame us or to say something mean to us. Number 2, second bullet point. Shame can amplify and intensify our fear of rejection. This also goes for fear of intimacy, you guys. Bullet point number 3. Shame can cause us to isolate and feel we deserve to be alone or lonely. Frightened when someone wants to be close to us. Again, fear of intimacy. Bullet point number 4. Shame can cause us to become very defensive when criticized and unable to receive even loving, constructive criticism. This is so common. Bullet point number 5. Shame can cause us to enter into people-pleasing behaviors with no idea how to get our own basic needs met. This is a visual for this is what Bobby and I often refer to lighting ourselves on fire to keep other people warm, sacrificing our own needs, our own mental and emotional well-being on the altar of someone else's approval. We should not be sacrificing our own mental and emotional well-being on the altar of someone else's approval. Please, please, please go to Amazon and purchase a book called Boundaries and use it as your Bible until you finish it, and then go back and read it again. And when you're done reading it twice, let me know. And then we'll probably read it a third time. I've read it probably 6 times by now. So it's worth it. It's life-changing. Very, very life-changing. The book Boundaries by Townsend and Cloud. Bullet point number 6. Shame can cause us to become overly responsible for things that happen with no idea how to allow others to take responsibility for their own actions and choices. Every person is only responsible for their own choices, good and bad choices. We're only responsible for us, you guys. We are not responsible for other people's choices and behaviors. Now, there is one exception, okay? If you are legally responsible for another human being, like your child that is under 18, then not only are you responsible for your own behaviors, but you're responsible for teaching that young human how to make good choices. Okay? So you're responsible for your own behaviors, and you're legally responsible for theirs. And you are also ultimately responsible for teaching that young human how to make good and healthy choices, the difference between good and bad choices, and helping them to understand the consequences of their choices, allowing them to fall and get their knees skinned or learn the repercussions of their poor choices while they're young. So when they get older and they go out into the world, they'll know how to accept responsibility for their own actions. That is our job as parents, to teach our children how to make good choices and how to accept the responsibility for their own actions and behaviors. Bullet point number 8, or is it 7? Shame can cause us to feel very self-punishing, often through negative self-talk. How we talk to ourselves really matters, you guys. Shame can cause us to feel very angry about having to work so hard to not be exposed for our own child abuse. You guys, it is natural for us to feel angry. I do want to say this though, okay? 2 things. 1, anger is super healthy. Number 2, rage is never an acceptable response. Rage is uncontrollable, okay? Rage is something that is not okay. For you to rage out on other people means that you're uncontrollably angry and you're lashing out. And there can be a lot of negative after effects to rage. And I highly recommend reaching out to a licensed clinical social worker or a therapist and working through if you're struggling with rage. I lived with debilitating rage and couldn't understand what was wrong with me. I was normally such a happy person and I had all this displaced anger. I just couldn't figure out what was wrong, and I was yelling at my child and I couldn't figure out what was up, and it just wasn't okay. It was not acceptable. So I got help, and I'm glad that I did. And then lastly, on the topic of anger, if you are having a hard time accessing your anger because we were trained as children to not feel and not express anything but compliance, it's completely common for you to not be able to access your anger. So it just takes time. Please be patient with yourself. You will be able to access your anger over time. It just takes a while. And here we go. Last bullet point. Shame can cause us to experience depression as a result of holding all the feelings and anger inside. Depression is definitely a symptom and after effect of our childhood sexual abuse. It can be, okay? So here we're down on the bottom here to cope with public shaming and its after effects. Here we go. These are some tips and strategies to feel better today. Feel better today, not in 30 years after you've gone through therapy, but you can feel better today if you learn, number 1, 4 bullet points here. Set firm boundaries with friends or family members who have a history of using public shame to silence or control you. Bullet point number 2, speak about your story. Share your story. Support other survivors as they share their story. This not only lets other survivors know they aren't alone, but it supports them to share their story as well. Bullet point number 3, acknowledge the shame you carry because of your abuse and public shaming. Examine your life for the ways shame has caused you to limit or define yourself. Take the time, get the help you need to shed that shame because it does not belong to you. Last bullet point for a way for you to cope with public shaming and its after effects so you can feel better today. Enter into safe community. Enter into safe community with other survivors. You guys, you are welcome to join us. Other survivors will help and support you as you get rid of your shame. There is strength in numbers. Being in community with others who have lived your pain will help you to feel stronger as you confront the societal stigmas and limitations which have been placed on all survivors. Bobby and myself have organized virtual safe communities where you can practice new skills and become adept at asserting healthy boundaries with loved ones, especially the ones that publicly shame you. Ask us about getting plugged into a free online safe support group for survivors. Click here. And if you were to click here on the downloadable one page, it will take you directly over to the About section of our YouTube channel so that you can see an easy 4-step process on how to get plugged into safe community. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen now. Hey guys, I'm back. Okay, so right over here on the About section of this channel, you will see an easy 4-step process on how to get plugged into safe community. If our videos have been helpful to you, will you please subscribe? I think it's right there, look at the cute little subscribe button. It says subscribe to Trauma Recovery University. It's very colorful. And we would love for you to do that. I'm so grateful that you guys decided to spend this evening with us. I don't have the fancy screen shares and all the stuff that Bobby normally has because we sort of play on tandem with one another. So it's been an awesome time tonight. I had so many of you asking questions, and I'm so grateful. Thank you for letting me know that you're receiving our resources and that they're helpful to you. If you are listening on a podcast and you just are not aware that we have a Roku TV channel and a YouTube channel, please go ahead, like I said earlier, and head on over to Roku TV or to YouTube and look for Trauma Recovery University. Next week is my birthday. And nothing says happy birthday, Athena, like self-sabotage. We're on the topic of self-sabotage next week. And we're going to talk about the adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse community and the prevalency of self-sabotage and what causes that self-sabotage and how can we overcome self-sabotage and learn to not sabotage ourselves like we always do or like we tend to. We're going to have some helpful tips and strategies for you on how to stop doing that next week. On October 31st, 2016. I'm going to be turning 43 years old. I'm so excited. I'm loving my 40s. They're awesome. I highly recommend any of you who are not in your 40s yet to look forward to it because they're pretty great. It's just been wonderful. It's been, body shaming. Yes, I just saw a tweet pop up right now. There is a video on eating disorders and body image issues. Harriet, if you could pop up the thumbnails somewhere around here. And there's also an interview that Kendra Tanner from the True You Project did with me. I actually talked about my whole eating disorder journey for the first time ever on live YouTube. I don't know why I did that, but I felt like I wanted to share to help other people. So I believe it was Gina who may have tweeted that just now. If someone could give her the two YouTube YouTube links. One of them is body eating disorders and body image issues. And the second one is like a purple and white thumbnail. And I think it says my eating disorder journey on it in like a round circle from the True You Project. If someone could just maybe tag her and let her know that that video is available, that would be amazing. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being my backup. Thanks for having my back tonight as I'm flying solo without my Bobby. Again, if you haven't sent a tweet to @BobbyLParish, just letting her know that we missed her and we love her, that would be amazing if you could do that. I appreciate you being here. And if you would like to email us, please email nomooreshameproject@gmail.com. I'm Athena Moberg, and I'm the co-founder of the No More Shame Project and Trauma Recovery University. For 2 years, almost 2.5 years, we've showed up here every single week, and we do live Q&A with the abuse survivor community, and we facilitate 3 weekly Twitter chats, and we have online virtual support communities where thousands of abuse survivors are all healing in safety, free from predators. And we have reached, we have over 1 million views on our YouTube channel now. I just checked, and we're in over 170 countries, and it's just like unreal, you guys. Seriously, we're just like 2 girls on YouTube with like our laptops. It's so crazy. So thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here with you guys. And oh, you're welcome, Gina. You're welcome. I didn't do anything except for tell people what to do. I hope they do it for you. But it's an honor to be here with you every single week. And I look forward to being back here with Bobby next week, hopefully, on my birthday. So I love you guys. And I'm Athena Moberg and Bobby Parish, and I love bringing you everything you need for healthy, informed trauma recovery. And look forward to seeing you next week. Aloha.